Hi there, welcome back to my channel. And this month, November, is Prematurity Awareness Month, so I'll be bringing storytelling to my channel. I'll be telling you stories of moms who had high-risk pregnancies and eventually had a preemie, and what their experience was like. Hopefully through their story, you can get a glimpse of what they went through. So if you're interested in hearing the story, stay tuned. Hi there, my name is Iman, and on this channel I teach moms and their families all about their high-risk pregnancy and the NICU to decrease fear and increase confidence. So before we start our story, if you are currently in the NICU, I have an amazing freebie for you. That is a cheat sheet of all the common medical terms that are used in the NICU, because the more you know, the better you can advocate for your baby. So if you want to grab that freebie, check down in the description box. And also, if you want to share your own NICU journey and NICU story on my channel, check down in the description box for the form to fill out. And hopefully I can share your story right here to help other parents. Okay, let's get into our story. So today I have two stories of two different moms and their experience with NICU. So let's get started with the first story. Hi, my name is Deanna. How was your pregnancy? After 11 years of trying to conceive on our own, my husband and I turned to infertility treatment. We got pregnant with my son via IVF. The pregnancy was going great. I barely had morning sickness and walked nearly every day. When I reached 23 weeks exactly is when I started to have what I thought was cramping, followed by spotting. After a call to my OB, I was seen and placed on pelvic rest for the weekend. By Saturday, I was in labor. By the time I reached the hospital, contractions were 3 minutes apart. My medical team was able to hold off the contractions for 5 days before my son, Micaiah, was born at 24 weeks and 2 days, weighing 1 pound and 9 ounces. So them holding off the contractions for 5 days is so good, because every day the baby can stay in longer really helps them when they're in the NICU. So he was born at 24 weeks and 2 days and weighing 1 pound and 9 ounces. He was in the NICU for 110 days. He was born on August 2016. So this is a picture of Micaiah that I was sent, and I'll put it right here. And so, oh, what a small and cute baby. He's wrapped around in a boundary to keep him contained, and he has a breathing tube, and he has central lines. Oh, such a cute baby. How was your NICU journey? Our NICU journey was a roller coaster, as many explained it. There were days when he was doing really well, and days when there was no changes, and days that were hard. Near the end of his 110 NICU stay, we received a call that no parent wants to receive. A call telling us to come to the hospital because our son wasn't doing well. And from the side of a healthcare worker, that is one of the hardest calls that we have to make. And I can say that from experience. The doctor suspected sepsis. Following that scare, one of my son's main challenges was his need for respiratory intervention. His lungs were underdeveloped, and this is because he was born really premature. He was discharged on the lowest setting of oxygen one day before his actual due date and remained on oxygen for 1 month. So he was discharged 1 day before his due date. That's actually amazing, because most of our micro preemies, which are babies that are born under 28 weeks, they tend to stay in the hospital after their due date. So it's amazing that he actually got discharged 1 day before his due date. That's actually a big milestone. He's doing great now. He's an intelligent, energetic, and caring 5-year-old, and he loves being an older brother to his sister. She was also conceived via IVF and born at just 24 weeks as well. Due to incompetent cervix, so that's what Deanna had. Due to incompetent cervix, I had a cerclage placed at 21 weeks. During my follow-up appointment at 23 weeks, it was discovered that my membranes were bulging, and I was immediately sent to the hospital and ordered on bed rest. So after a few days in the hospital, she was born via an emergency C-section. Lamea was born October 2019, and this is a picture that Deanna sent me of Lamea. Oh, what a cutie. Yeah, she also has a breathing tube, I believe. Aww. So cute. The NICU journey the second time around was a little more difficult than the first, because we had an experience to compare it to, and that's actually a good point that Deanna brought up, because most people that go through NICU have no other experience, have never gone through it. So they have nothing to compare it to. So they don't know if what's happening to them, what's happening to their baby is normal, if it's expected. But if you've gone through it 2 times, you understand, especially because the babies were around 24 weeks. You have an idea of what to expect and the challenges your baby might face. And you have an idea of what the ups and downs look like if you've gone through NICU. So my daughter had to have an emergency surgery to repair a perforated bowel that was resulting of necrotizing enterocolitis, which is known as NEC. She had a bilateral brain bleed as well, and a patent ductus arteriosus, and retinopathy of prematurity, ROP, that required injections in her eyes. My daughter is a busy, opinionated 2-year-old who loves keeping up with her brother. So this is a picture that Diana sent me of both her kids, and I'll put it right here. So, oh, so cute. They're so big now, and their smile, and they're making some cupcakes. So beautiful. Oh, I'm so glad they did okay for what they went through. So advice for prematurity and NICU. I would advise families to ask the NICU staff questions, even if the questions seem trivial or if they have already been asked. Good point. Ask until you understand. I would also advise families to connect with other families in the NICU. Support is crucial. What better support than others who are currently going through a similar journey? I find that keeping a journal not only helped to occupy my time during our NICU stay, but the journal entries are useful when reflecting on the amazing miracles that we were blessed with. Lastly, enjoy every moment and try not to compare your child or your experience to others because they are all different. And so I just wanted to say thank you, Diana, for sharing your journey and your experience with us. And so Diana mentioned a really good point in not to compare your child and your experience with others. So this is such an important thing to remember for all parents, not just NICU parents. But with us NICU parents, our kids tend to be a bit behind when it comes to their milestones and their growth. So it's just so easy to compare and look at the other child. So we really have to restrain ourselves and hold back because every child is unique, is different, and eventually they will catch up. And they just need the time and the support to catch up. Once you start comparing, you truly don't get to enjoy those small moments of your baby and the milestones that they're reaching on their own term. So try your best not to compare your baby with other babies. So let's get into the second story. Hi, my name is Stephanie. Tell me about your pregnancy. I had an incompetent cervix. This is what led me to having a premature baby. And this is a very common diagnosis of many women who end up having a premature baby. Explain your NICU journey. I gave birth to my little boy, D'Angelo, on July 2020 at only 23 weeks. This was the most challenging experience because I was not expecting to give birth so soon because that is really, really premature. My baby stood in the NICU for 136 days with many ups and downs. And so she sent me a picture of D'Angelo, which I'll just put right here. This looks like one of the photos in his earliest days. And so he has a large boundary containing him. And he has a breathing tube. He has, I believe, goggles to cover his eyes because he has light from jaundice, I'm assuming. That's why his eyes are covered. And he has all the wires and all the leads that the regular NICU baby has. He first had a shunt placed in his heart because he had an open valve. Thankfully, it wasn't open heart surgery. As the weeks went by, he kept growing, but still had many complications and had about 8 blood transfusions. When I finally got a discharge date, he kept desatting and couldn't come home. They later did an MRI and found a cyst against his brainstem, and they removed it and again gave me a discharge date, which was postponed again because he had a stage 3 ROP. Aww. So they're just getting his mom's hopes up that your baby will be coming, but they keep postponing because something medically comes up with the baby and the baby is not safe enough to go home yet. And so he had stage 3 ROP and had to do laser surgery on his eyes. When they finally did the procedure, it took about a week for him to recuperate and go back to his regular feedings. They called me a day before and told me I can finally get my baby. We were super excited as he has been through so much. I couldn't imagine how much he's been through, especially being born at 23 weeks. How is your baby doing now? D'Angelo is a healthy 15-month-old. Oh, that is so nice to hear. And so Stephanie sent me a picture of D'Angelo, and I'll just put it right here. And 15-month-old. He's actually the same age as my second son, and he was born in July. I love his outfit. Cute, cute baby. What a handsome boy. What do you want other people to know about prematurity and NICU experience? Preemies are very strong. Be positive so that they can feel your positive energy. So thank you, Stephanie, for sharing your story. I can't imagine what you've been through and what your baby has been through, especially being born at 23 weeks. But thank you for sharing your story, because this does happen to many moms out there. And this allows other moms to relate to your story, and that when they hear another mom has gone through it and that their baby turned out okay on the other side, it gives them hope. So thank you for sharing your story. I wanted to bring up a good point that Stephanie mentioned in her story. So when a baby is showing signs that they're ready to go home, meaning they're feeding well, they're taking most of their bottles, there's no DSATs, hasn't had a braddy for a while, which is a drop in heart rate. So when they're showing signs that they're ready to go home, an approximate discharge date is given to parents. And this date allows everybody on the medical team and the parents to work towards that date. So try to get baby taking their bottle or breastfeeding the best they can, and getting all their appointments ready and all the discharge paper ready. But that's like a date that everybody can work towards. But NICU parents don't know that that date is not always guaranteed for your baby to actually go home, because things can come up with our babies. Even though they're bigger and they're stable and they're breathing on their own and they're feeding on their own, things can come up, like for example having severe ROP. Things can happen that can postpone that discharge date. It's kind of like the hope of bringing home your baby is like dangled in front of you. And I never looked at it that way until I read your story. And the doctors and nurses are not doing it with bad intention, and they're keeping your baby away from you. The doctors and the nurses and your healthcare team wants you to take home a baby that is medically stable and safe. So if any medical concern comes up for that baby and treatment is needed, that discharge date will be postponed. And postponing a discharge date is so heartbreaking for parents. And parents understand why it has to happen, because they obviously want their baby to be safe and get the best treatment. But you waited for weeks, months, maybe even multiple months to have your baby home. And you were so close to have your baby home, and then something happened. And so it's just really heartbreaking for parents. It's painful. It's really, really hard for parents to go through this, just like Stephanie went through, to have that hope of having your baby come home on a certain date and then that be taken away from you. So it's really hard for parents to go through that. So that's the end of my stories. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us and listening in. If you have your own NICU experience that you want to share, check down the description box down below for the form to fill out, and I can share your story here. And also make sure you grab that freebie if you are currently in NICU, which is a cheat sheet of common medical terms that you need to know as parents. So if you need that freebie, check it down in the description box right now. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.